Hello and welcome to this Yoga for Runners video. So in this practice, we are going to be mainly focused on our hips and our hamstrings to help increase your flexibility and mobility in these areas. Now, you probably won't need any props. I've got a rolled up blanket because we are going to be doing a couple of kneeling postures and my knees are feeling a little bit tender. So I have the blanket to kneel on. I've also got a couple of yoga blocks. Again, these are completely optional. You don't need them at all. And for this practice, the only reason I'm going to use them is to basically bring the floor up to my level so I'm not hunched over in one of the postures. But like I say, you really don't need anything, just yourself and a yoga mat. We are going to start lying down today. So take yourself down towards the floor, bringing yourself onto your back, shuffling yourself around a little, make yourself comfortable. And we are going to begin by drawing our right knee in towards the chest, keeping your upper body beautifully soft on the earth and as much of your spine in contact with the floor as possible. We're going to try and move with the breath. So as we breathe in, just be aware of how your body's feeling this morning. Or this evening, I say this morning, because that's when I tend to film. And if there's any areas that are feeling a little bit tight or tense, just be kind to yourself. And don't force your body into any position that it doesn't want to make. So we are going to breathe out and draw that right knee a little bit closer in towards the chest. We're going to repeat that 3 times. So we breathe in and we just notice, bring some awareness to how we feel. And as we exhale, drawing the knee in a little bit closer if we have that movement, maybe even circling through the ankle while we're here. One more time, drawing that knee in. From here, you're just going to move that knee towards the right-hand side. Continue to draw it in, but it's as though you're trying to take this knee in towards your armpit now. Now this left leg, as you see, I've got this left knee bent. Try not to let that knee fall out to the side. Keep it stacked over your left ankle as we draw that right knee to the side of the ribs. From here, we are now going to extend that right leg up towards the ceiling. How is it feeling in your body today? Again, we can circle the ankle, point and flex the foot, and just notice how it feels down the back of this right leg. If you can, push the heel away. If it feels possible, maybe thread your hands behind the back of your right thigh. You might be able to take your hands behind your calf. But if this means you're lifting up, then just take everything down a notch, maybe even just bringing the arms alongside the body, noticing how the back of that hamstring is feeling. Introducing possibly a little bend into the knee as you push the foot away, if that feels a little better. Keep breathing. Allow the exhale to extend the leg away from you, maybe using that inhale to draw the knee in. Okay, so from here, we're going to straighten that left leg on the mat in front of you. Draw that right knee in. And this time, just taking that right knee over that left leg, using your left hand to guide, draw it over, rocking over onto your left hip. If we can, try and keep that right shoulder towards the earth. And maybe turning your gaze towards the right hand side as well. So introducing a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a stretch in the outer side of that right hip. All the while breathing deeply and allowing your exhale and gravity to draw that right knee down towards the earth. Inhale, let's come back to center. Hug both knees in, give your spine a little roll on the mat, and then return your right foot to the floor, and we repeat that sequence on this side. So we take a breath in, softening through the upper body as we exhale, drawing that left knee into center. 2 more times here, breathing in. Exhale, drawing in. Last time here. Drawing that knee in before taking the knee slightly towards the left-hand side, so it doesn't have to come too far. And then repeating that movement, but this time as though you're trying to slot your left knee in towards your armpit, keeping that right knee, if we can, over the ankle. And again, maybe introducing a little bit of movement into your left ankle here as we bring that leg back to center and extend up through the back of our left leg into that hamstring. Again, we're keeping our spine elongated on the floor if we can as we push the heel away. And if it feels too much to just stay pushing this heel away down the back of that leg, once more we introduce a little bend into the knee, and then as we exhale, encourage length down the back of that leg, but just working with how your body is moving this morning. I keep saying this morning, could be this evening. So these stretches are ideal if you have been running or if you're on a rest day, just to work into these muscles and just find a little bit of release. Let's extend that right leg on the earth now and guide our left leg over towards the left-hand side. And as we do so, notice what happens to this left shoulder. We don't want to roll it all the way over. We want to see if we can keep it towards the floor. I'm not going to say on the floor, but definitely towards the floor as we send our gaze over towards the left-hand side. As we inhale, we come back, hugging those knees in once more, giving our spine a little bit of a rock and roll on the mat. And we are going to come up to seated. So see if we can rock ourselves into a seated position on our mat. Okay, move that out of the way a bit. Taking your feet about hip distance apart and bring your hands behind you. Now, we're not going to throw all our weight into our hands and just sink down and hang out here. We're going to keep lifted as we take our right ankle over our left knee. So our chest is open, our shoulders are relaxed, and we haven't lost our neck at all here. This is a seated pigeon. Let's keep our right foot active by pushing the heel away and using the muscles in your right hip flexor to draw your right knee away from you. Imagine you're using your hand to push that knee away, so you're getting a stretch into the outer area of this hip. Now I want you to remember this posture because later on in this practice we're going to come into another variation of pigeon, but if it doesn't feel right, then you can return to this variation instead. Now, if this stretch is easing off and you're finding this very, very easy, you can draw your left heel inwards. Keep pushing that right knee away and you will definitely feel a little stretch in the outer area of that hip. And we breathe through it. We inhale and we find some space in the body and we exhale, almost sighing into this stretch. Stay here for a few breaths or indeed as long as you would like, and then we are just going to come on to the opposite side. So as with all yoga postures, just because we are doing the same pose on different sides of the body doesn't mean to say it has to feel the same. So you might have more movement in this side. You might have less, it might feel tighter. And that's okay, we just work with where we are in this moment. Now, as you can see, I'm just moving gently from side to side. You don't have to remain still. You can encourage some movement into the body to ease into these postures, into these stretches. Take a nice deep breath in. Notice if you have space to increase this stretch. Again, without force, if it feels too much, begin to slide your right leg away from you here. Lovely. Okie dokie. So from here, let's release out of it. Cross your legs over in front of you. Work your way onto your hands and your knees. And then we are just going to step it back into a downward facing dog. Have your fingers as wide as we can. A little bend in the knees to lift the hips up and back. And send the chest back towards the thighs. We're going to walk the feet out in our downward facing dog. Again, just bringing some movement, some mobility into the back of the legs. And then when you're ready, we're going to take our right heel, nice hip crack, up towards the ceiling. We're going to bend the knee, keeping that heel pushed away, the foot is flexed. And we come into this posture where we open out our hip. Again, some circles through the ankle if you would like. And then straightening that right leg back out behind you, leveling off your hips. Bend the knee once more. We're going to draw it into the nose as we rock onto the ball of that left foot. Inhale, let's lengthen that right leg back out behind us in our three-legged dog. And as we exhale, once more, we draw the knee towards the nose. And we're going to drop our right foot between the hands. And that wasn't overly elegant, was it? Okay, we're going to bring ourselves into this low lunge position. Now, this is where your blanket or your blocks might come in handy. So I'm going to use my blanket just to take under my knee here. And I've got my blocks in case I would like to use them either side of the mat. So from our high lunge, walk your right foot in front of you a little, but still have your right knee over the ankle. We tip the hips forward to encourage a stretch into the front of our left hip. Give your glutes a little bit of a squeeze here as well. The hips are facing forward, and even though we're dropping the hips forward, we're not collapsing our weight forward onto that right leg. We're pushing through our right foot. We're maintaining control in this posture. Breathing here, nice deep breath, softening through your shoulders. Staying with your hips slightly forward to encourage this stretch, we're going to reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Relaxing through the shoulders as you reach through the fingertips. We're going to take it into a little twist now. So the left arm comes forward and the right arm comes behind, maybe even shifting your gaze towards the right. Be really aware of what happens to this right knee. As you move your upper body, it might begin to sway. So root firmly down through that right foot to maintain that stability through your body. As you breathe in, you're going to come back to face the front and take your hands down either onto the floor or onto some blocks, which just lifts the floor up a little bit so that your chest can remain open. Now we're going to take the bottom back towards the heel. So we're coming into this half splits posture. Keep your shoulders level if you can over your hips, facing the front of your mat. And like I say, you don't have to use the blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can come onto your fingertips or even stay lifted with your hands on your hips and just send your chest forward. That requires a little bit more balance, so I'm going to stick with my blocks in this posture. From this half splits pose, we land that right foot back to the floor and we reach our arms up as we sink the hips forward. We're just going to move between these two postures a couple more times. Hands relaxed to the blocks or the floor as the bottom shifts backwards and we have a stretch down the back of that right leg, shifting our weight forward, rooting through our right foot to keep us beautifully stable in this posture, returning our hands to the floor one last time. Take it back into our half splits posture, and then we're going to make our way back into down dog. So we're going to tuck the toes of that left foot, take that right foot back, maybe spend a moment or two walking out the feet once more. And we'll repeat that on the opposite side, extending our left heel towards the ceiling. Little bend in the knee as we open out the hip, maybe rotating through the ankle. As we extend that left leg behind us, we bend the knee and draw it into the nose, coming into this little squeeze through the abdominals. Inhale, taking that left leg back towards the ceiling. Inhale into the nose once more. And with control, which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to manage, we're going to drop, drop that foot lightly between our hands. Okay, let's find our stability, she says, wobbling all over the place in our low lunge on this side. Walking your left foot forward a little bit, keeping the left knee over the ankle. We are squeezing our glutes, sending our hips forward, rooting down as well as lifting, if that makes sense to you. Inhale, let's reach our fingertips towards the ceiling. As we exhale, coming into the twist on the opposite side, taking your right arm forward, your left arm behind, maybe even sending your gaze towards the left-hand side or even towards the back of the room. As we inhale, we're going to reach our arms all the way back up, sinking those hips a little further if we can, and then bringing our hands down towards the floor or the blocks on this side as we find that stretch through the back of the left leg, sending the bottom towards the heels, maybe turning the toes of your left foot to face up, or you can keep your foot flat to the floor. Notice how that stretch feels down the back of that left leg. As we inhale, we plant our left foot to the floor, take those hips forward, reach our arms up. Moving with our breath as we exhale, we take the hands down. Shifting the hips back behind you, breathing deeply, returning the left foot to the floor. Let's just do this once more. Reaching our arms up as we sink our hips forward. As we exhale, taking the hands down towards the earth or your blocks. Finding that stretch down through the back of the leg. Beautiful. Okay, let me move my blocks out of the way. And we will return ourselves to a downward facing dog. Smoothly done, everyone. Okay, from our downward facing dog, again, you can bring some movement into your legs if you want to by lowering one heel, bending the opposite knee towards the floor. We're going to take that right leg back up towards the ceiling. Bend the knee in towards the nose. Just hover it there for a second or two before dropping your right foot once more between your hands. Dropping your back heel down towards the earth, pushing through your feet. You're going to see if you can bring yourself into a standing position. And when we get here, move your feet around a little bit if you need to. We're going to come into triangle. So we have two straight legs. Your right foot faces the top of your mat. Your heel roughly in line with the midpoint of your back foot. We reach our arms to shoulder height, rooting down through both feet. So you're pushing into the space underneath both big toes. As you breathe in, reaching your upper body as far forward as you can. And then as we exhale, finding a rotation as you take your right hand to the inside of your right leg and extending your left arm towards the ceiling. If this feels a little tight across the shoulders, then we can wrap that hand behind the back. Keep pushing into your back foot as well as your front foot and just noticing the stretch to the inside of the legs. Turn your gaze towards your right foot. We're going to bring ourselves back up to standing. Keep a bend in the right knee. Move your feet around a little bit so your back foot is still facing inwards to keep your hips facing forward. The bend in the right knee is over the ankle, and we're going to reach the arms behind the back. Now, you can either hold on to your opposite elbows, or you can take the palms of your hands together. If I just turn my back to you, coming into this reverse prayer posture. Now, we're going to keep our hands behind our back for our next three poses. So make sure they are in a position that feel good for you. Drawing your shoulders together. Rooting down through your feet in your warrior one pose, squeezing that left glute. Take a nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, we're going to straighten into your right leg. Bring your back foot in a little bit. All 10 toes roughly facing the top of your mat. Take another deep breath in as you root through your feet. As we exhale, begin to lengthen and extend through the upper body. Notice how far you can come down. We're trying to keep our back straight and lengthened. We're trying to keep both legs straight, but if it's too intense, that stretch down the back of your front leg, do please have a small bend in that knee. I'm just going to move my feet around because it doesn't feel right for me where they were. Take another breath in and just see if you can encourage a little bit more length through your spine as possibly you lengthen forward. Let's bring a bend into your right knee. Push yourself up to standing. Keep your hands where they are. Take that weight into your right foot. Come onto the toes of your left foot. Again, we take a beautiful deep breath in. We're going to find a little balance if we've got that. As we exhale, begin to travel your left leg up behind you. This is our warrior three pose. And we want to think about standing tall on that right leg. Doesn't matter how high that left leg comes up behind us, but imagine your standing leg as your pivot point. So however low down your torso comes is however high your leg is raised. Hold it here just for one more breath. And then drop that back foot behind you. Release your hands. Take them down to the floor. Step it back into your downward facing dog. Oh, have a little bit of a stretch out here. Pushing into your hands, pushing into your feet. Lifting those hips up and relaxing your head towards the floor. Let's come on to the opposite side, taking that left heel towards the ceiling. Bend the knee into the nose, and then with as much control as you can muster, and I can tell you I don't have much control today in this practice. I'm going to have to give it a helping hand. We're going to step that left foot towards the top of the mat, dropping your back heel. Push through your feet, and we find ourselves in a triangle pose on the opposite side, reaching our arms to shoulder height. Take a breath in as we inhale, reaching towards the left. As we exhale, we rotate over. And remember, different side of the body does not have to feel the same in the same posture. Fingertips can reach up, arm can wrap behind the back. Turn that gaze towards your left foot. Bring a little bend into the knee to help push you up. We're going to come into warrior one. So we turn the hips to face the top of the mat. Bring a bend into our left knee. Where do we want to take the hands now? Elbow to elbow or that reverse prayer? Roll your shoulders back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, looking forward or even looking up towards the ceiling. And then from here, we're going to straighten that left leg. Step our right foot in a little bit. Again, it takes a bit of experimentation to decide where feels good for your feet. And if you find yourself wobbling, take yourself off your tightrope and make yourself more onto a train track position. Okay, bringing your hands back behind you, squaring your hips to the front of the mat as we breathe in. We root down through our feet. As we exhale, we find that length coming forward. Keep your gaze towards the floor so your neck and spine are beautifully long in one long line. And we take a few breaths here and we use the breath to notice how the body feels. So if it's feeling remarkably tight down the back of that leg, we have a slight bend in the knee. If we feel we can go further, we use our breath. We use that exhale to carry us forward and down. Okay, let's bring a bend into that left knee to push ourselves up to standing. Find the weight under that left foot. Come onto the ball of the right foot, maybe even onto the toes. Remember to breathe and not hold your breath as you investigate the balance on this side. One side is always easier to balance on, but that's okay. Let's not bring any judgment into it. We are where we are. Holding here if we can for 3, for 2, and 1. Dropping that back foot behind you. Releasing your hands, take them down either side of your left foot. Step it back into a plank position. Holding here for 3, for 2, and then we're going to drop our knees down towards the floor and just take it back into a child's pose. Have a little bit of a stretch out here, relaxing your head to the floor, maybe touching your big toes together, taking those knees a little bit wider as we fold ourselves down towards the earth. And when you are ready, we are going to bring ourselves onto all fours, into our downward facing dog, and then taking our feet to our hands, gently folding forward before rolling ourselves up to standing. Rolling your shoulders back and down. We're going to take a wide step on our mat now. So facing the long edge, turning all 10 toes to face the edge, so they're not flaring out, they are facing forward in this wide-legged stance, bringing your hands to your hips. I'm always going on about shrugging your shoulders down, but it's so often that we find without even noticing our shoulders have elevated towards our ears, so we are actively drawing them down. From here, we are going to hinge from the hips. I'm just going to stand back a little bit. Hinging from our hips, finding that forward fold. Again, keeping our spine lengthened as the crown of the head travels forward and down. Down we come. We can take our hands onto the ankles, maybe onto the mat underneath our shoulders in front of us. And just tip your weight forwards and backwards a little bit. Keeping your feet flat to the floor, but just shifting the weight from the front of your foot to the back of your foot, noticing how it feels. If you feel you'd like to go a little bit further, you can maybe heel toe your feet out a little bit wider. Obviously, just working with where you are in this posture today. Okay, from here, we are going to move ourselves into a fabulous little hip stretch. That is probably not what everyone would call this, but I do like this posture. We're going to walk our hands around towards the back of our mat, towards our left foot. We're going to drop our right knee back to the floor. Do you know what? I'm going to take my little blanket again. Take your right knee to the floor, and we're sending that knee back a little bit further now, further than it was in our lunge position. The left foot walks to the outer edge of the mat, and we're going to bring our hands to the inside of that left foot. Take the top of your right foot to the floor. So this is our lizard pose. Now our left knee is roughly over our left ankle. And this is such a good stretch for the outside of your left hip, for the front of your left hip, right hip. Goodness me, get your left and your right correct. We can stay here. You can use a block if you want to, again, to bring the floor up, resting your hands on the block. You might want to drop that left knee out to the side, so you're coming onto the outer edge of that left foot, if that feels good for you. Just have a little play around, see what works in this posture. Remember to breathe. Let's see if we can stay here for one more breath. And then we are going to take this left foot and bring it across the mat. So heel toe, all the way across. And then drop our left knee behind our left wrist. Sliding your right leg back behind you. So we're in pigeon pose. Now, if you remember at the top of the class, I said that if this variation of pigeon pose doesn't feel right for you in any way, then you can always come back into our seated variation where we cross the ankle over the knee. But if this is feeling okay for you, then we keep our hips as level as we can as we slide the right leg behind us. Bring your forearms in front of you and just rest your head down towards the floor. Taking 3 deep breaths in your pigeon pose, using your exhale to see if you can soften and relax into the outer part of that left hip. Letting your body melt into the floor. Just like our previous posture of lizard, it is a hip stretch, but I think, again, this could just be me, but I think this is slightly more relaxing than lizard. On your next inhale, bring yourself back up. Work your way onto your hands. This is the tricky bit. We're going to tuck the toes of that right foot and just push ourselves up. Maybe coming into a little downward facing dog, just to walk our feet out. We're going to take our left foot towards the top of the mat, and all we're going to do in a very elegant fashion is walk our way around so we are facing the front of your mat again. Okay, I'm going to drop that left knee, she says, playing around with her blanket, to the floor. The right foot walks to the outer edge of the mat. The hands come inside that left foot. Play around with the knee, the foot, see how it feels. And again, you can use a block if you want to take your hands, to elevate yourself a little bit here. Now, if you want, you can drop onto the outer edge of your right foot. So we're sinking down through the hips, maybe giving your left glute a little bit of a squeeze, trying to breathe, trying to think happy thoughts in this not completely comfortable posture. Hold it here just for another breath if you can. Ideally, I think you should hold these for maybe 5 to 10 breaths. So, but it depends on your time. If you don't have too much time, then something is better than nothing. Let's walk that right foot, heel toe it all the way over to the opposite side of your mat. As we take that right knee behind the right wrist, slide that left leg out behind you, walk your arms in front. As we find some softness, a little bit of stillness in our pigeon pose on this side. Take your time, breathe deeply. So these last two postures that we have done on either side, if you would like to, you can always pause the video and just take a little bit longer. As I say, 5, 10 breaths, maybe a minute on each side, just to really work a little deeper into your hip if you are feeling tight in these areas. So from your pigeon pose, let's work our way back up onto our hands. And this time, all we are going to do is swing our left leg around in front of us, bringing our legs in front, sitting tall in our seated posture on our mat, our Dandasana. If your legs are feeling super tight in this posture, this is where you can use your lovely blanket or cushion again and just place that underneath the back of your legs. So it encourages a little bend in the legs, which hopefully won't aggravate your hamstrings too much. We are going to stay low with our hands as we breathe in. We grow tall through our spine, and as we exhale, we're just going to hinge from the hips and walk our hands forward. Now, this is a forward fold. I know it might not look like I am folding forward at all, but you will feel, hopefully, the stretch down the back of your hamstring, maybe some lengthening through your spine. There shouldn't be any pain. That goes for all postures, should not be any pain. And your forward fold is your forward fold. You're trying to imagine getting your chest, your sternum, down towards your thighs, rather than rounding your back and in an effort to fold forward, cramming your head down towards your knees. We're pushing the heels away. We're using our breath to settle into the posture. As we breathe in, we notice how it feels. And as we exhale, is there room to move? You might get to a point and go, nah, not for me. And just come out of it a little bit. Stay here for a few breaths. Experiment, move. You don't have to stay still. See how it feels for you in this moment today. And then on your next inhale, bring yourself back to your seated position. Turn yourself around so you're sat facing the long edge of your mat, finding a comfortable seat, cross-legged, or you can sit on your heels or even continue to have your legs in front of you. As we breathe in, we're going to reach our arms up towards the ceiling. And as we breathe out, we're going to take our left hand over towards the right-hand side, finding a gentle twist, softening through your shoulders and feeling that twist work its way up from the base of your spine to the middle, to the top, the shoulders, the neck, the head is the last thing to twist. And you can use your hand, if you wish, as a little bit of leverage, if that feels good. As we breathe in, we reach our arms up. And as we breathe out, we find that twist to the opposite side, taking your right hand to your left knee, finding that twist, visualizing your spine turning and moving. All the muscles around the front and the back working as you breathe and you move. Hold it here for one more breath. And then as you inhale, we're going to work our way back to face the front, bringing your hands towards your heart. Right hand presses into left, left into right. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice today. Your hips and your hamstrings will thank you for it. Drop me a like, drop me a comment, and please do subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you on the mat again very soon.